a statement. The representative of the Russian Federation has asked for the floor to make a further statement. I give him the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Sergei Alexeyevich, I'm proud glad that you are interested in poetry. It is no surprise that we are from the same country and we had the same lessons in school, but I do wish to correct you. Ask that question of those soldiers in the under the birch trees. You missed a line. I don't know about the portraits on the 9th of May, hardly those of Stalin, but I would be curious about whether there will be a parade commemorating our shared victory in the Great Patriotic War on 9 May in Ukraine. Today we heard a great deal. One cannot respond to all of this. This is far too gargantuan a task. Unfortunately, what we have not heard is anything new. Everything is as it was. The same songs, the same old songs. You call upon Moscow to comply with the Minsk agreements, but for some reason this call is not addressed to Kiev. And the same old advancement of the Minsk agreements with a lack of the erroneous causes. It appears that Russia was the one who unleashed the war, not Ukraine. Again, it is heard that Russia needs to withdraw troops. We asked Mr. Kapan and Mr. Sadik about this last year to describe to us about the Russian presence in Donbass, and they were unable to answer that question. And those who put this question, perhaps Madam Grau and Mr. Chik have more information. We can ask them, too, where they saw Russian troops in Donbass. We are told that Moscow, with a stroke of the pen, Moscow will be able to end this conflict as soon as we tell the Donbass representatives to do so. Are you seriously that naive? Do you truly believe that the Kremlin is puppeteering those individuals residing in Donbass? Do you truly think they don't have their own opinions, that they're merely the puppets of the Kremlin and nothing more? I do not believe you are so naive as to believe that is the case. Christoph, my friend, is one of the sponsors of the Minsk agreement, as he recalls. I'm not familiar with the former governor of Irkutsk Oblast, but my question to Christoph and to Sergei Alexeyevich is as follows. The fact that a U.S. citizen, Natalia Ionescu, was a finance minister of Ukraine, and Litovets Sabravich was the economy minister, Ulyanov Suprum was the minister of health in Ukraine. And incidentally, she's from Chicago. Chicago to Kiev is a distance of 8,000 kilometers. That's greater than the distance between Irkutsk and Kiev, incidentally. Does this allow us to think that that the U.S. and Chicago are direct parties to the conflict in Ukraine? I won't even produce the example with the Alexander Vindman, the lieutenant colonel who found himself enmeshed in the impeachment affair, who was proposed 3 times to become a minister. But even he acknowledged that this was a joke. Christoph noted that this is an unfortunate day for international law and for Ukraine. Are you referring to the anniversary of the adoption of Resolution 2202, which endorsed the Minsk package of measures? The day of the adoption of this resolution, is it a tragic day for you? You referred to the way Vladislav Surkov eloquently spoke and persuaded the representatives of Donbass to sign on to the agreement. You should know that for the representatives of Donbass who signed the Minsk in 2015, signed the agreements, they viewed this as a tremendous concession and a defeat. And today, the Ukrainian authorities don't even wish to engage in dialogue with them, labeling them not just terrorists, separatists rather, but also terrorists. There was a great deal said today about today's hostilities in the area of Golubovsk. According to our reports, the information we have on 18 February, the subdivisions of the Ukrainian armed forces undertook an attempt to destabilize the situation in the line of contact in Donbass. Early in the morning, approximately 6 a.m., the groups of the Ukrainian armed forces, comprised of 10 individuals, moved towards the position in the Golubovsk area. The operation by Ukrainian forces was at the early stage, reported near the line of contact. The Ukrainian group detonated a mine, as a result of which at least 2 people died. 3 have been wounded. For the evacuation of the dead and wounded from the area of detonation, there was a large-scale artillery attack targeting the LPR residential area. This was done with mortars being used, as well as large-caliber artillery pieces in the area of Golubovsk and Sokolniko, Donetsk and Smyrna. The military forces of the Ukrainian forces had more than 50 shells launched. Sergei Ligovich today presented us with a photograph of an unfortunate boy, a 22-year-old boy, Maxim Khitailov, who died today in that area. And he is a member of the 72nd Memory Unit of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. This is a tragic event, but why are you deploying those boys to that area? Tell us, please. We remember your former leader, Mr. Klinkin, in this hall, seated at that chair, showed us a photograph of the unfortunate girl who died on your line of contact. And at that point, I asked him, next time you visit the Security Council, Mr. Klimkin, please bring a photograph of civilians who died due to the result of the actions of the Ukrainian security forces in Donbass. There are many photographs that can be provided. I will do this next time myself because I cannot wait for the Ukrainians to do this. This is a tragedy. It is a tragedy. It is a tragedy that is ongoing, and the way to end it is to implement the Minsk agreements. Christoph today spoke about violations of the line of contact. I will refer to statistics of the Spatial Monitoring Mission, 9 December to 12 February. And 60% of incidents, responsibility for opening fire is borne by the Ukrainian forces. Kiev allowed for 3,737 violations of the cessation of hostilities as compared to other instances from territory of Donbass. And this is only when the violator can be identified. The overall number of violations is 45,245 on one side and 12,114 on the other side. And the west of the line of disengagement, there were 34 municipalities. And during the period, Ukrainian security forces led to 3 residential areas being targeted and not a single territory under the control of Kiev. Unfortunately, you don't wish to see what is most clear. And I don't know what eyeglasses will help you to see this. I continue to be surprised at where you take this information about the unfortunate people who have been coping with this tremendous oppression, as you call the Russian-occupied Crimea. I tell you many times, come to Crimea, take a look for yourselves at how the unfortunate Crimeans are suffering. 2 of the speakers today mentioned the MH17 disaster. And I think that, of course, the meeting is not on this, and there's no. I myself am not a prosecutor, and moreover, I wish to present you with surprising information that was published in the Western press, Western media outlets, that military services of the Netherlands did not see a single anti-aircraft missile of Buk in the area from where the aircraft was down. We repeatedly said that the investigation is underway. But to our surprise, it is closed and not transparent. This is information, of course, that needs to be verified and corroborated. And lastly, I wish to once again recall the fact that it is important for us to understand that there are 2 sides, not 3 in this conflict, and not 2 in the interpretation of our Ukrainian colleague, Russia and Ukraine, but rather 2, that is Donbass and Kiev. And so long as there is no direct dialogue between Kiev and Donbass, there can be no settlement there, nor can there be a settlement absent direct dialogue between the parties to the conflict in Afghanistan, Syria, and the Cyprus, Colombia, and throughout the world. Only this inclusive dialogue can generate opportunities and guarantees for a lasting peace. For this reason, the Normandy format is only significant so far as it is geared towards implementation of the Minsk package of measures, which need to be implemented without any preconditions. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation.